YouTube. How's everybody doing? Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you so much for your time. We're back, which obviously means our Boston Celtics played last night. Big win to the tune of a 117-94 victory over the Chicago Bulls. Go through the box scores, some of my key takeaways, and just try to make sense of just everything that is going on right now. So, excuse me. Starting with our Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, a block. He was 10 for 21 from the field, 3 for 6 from the free throw, and 2 for 4 from the three. Partner in crime, Jason Tatum had 16 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. He was 5 for 18 from the field, bad night shooting, 1 for 8 from the three. But he was on triple-double watch. He also had 2 steals. He had 8 assists, excuse me. Al Horford, though, I think would be my player of the game if I had to give it to someone. I thought that Al has been and was, again, fantastic. I've been telling you, I mentioned in the pregame show, thank you all for everyone that showed up. Shout out to my co-hosts, Bree and Bobby. Actually, please go check that out when you get a chance. I was saying that he's been on triple-double watch if you've looked at just how he's been performing since Rob left. But look at this, 17 points, 10 rebounds in 30 minutes. He was a perfect 7 for 7 for the field, 3 for 3 from the three. I mean, wow. From average Al to father time, I mean, he defies odds and expectations no matter what. I mean, right? The man was a perennial all-star while he was being called average Al. Now he's 35 years old. Everyone wrote him off, but look at him this year. He has been, a pivotal factor in this team's success and our ability to do what we've been doing on both sides of the floor. So it's just, wow. Excellent job, Mr. Horford. Daniel Theis is another one. You want to talk about just how brilliant of a move was that Dennis Schroeder. That's, again, the pregame show, we mentioned that if they don't execute that Dennis Schroeder for Daniel Theis trade, people forget that in that same trade, Enes Freedom was also involved, right? So you would have been looking at a potential Enes Freedom coming in right now because you literally have no one else. You see Luke Cornett is getting, some run. I mean, they're pretty much small balling it with Grant and, staggering minutes after the, initial start with Al and Tyson, obviously the finish of the game. But it's like, that trade for, Daniel Theis, it's been sensational. And we'll get to both of them and some more of their individual performances here in a short minute. But Marcus Smart, 26 minutes, he had 9 points, 2 rebounds. He did have 6 assists. He was also 3 for 6 from the three. One of those threes was it was an awesome, buzzer, as time was expiring, leaning off a 1 foot. It was a crazy sequence and he drained it. Excellent, man. Derek White off the bench in 23 minutes. He had 10 points, 3 assists. And Peyton Pritchard in 18 minutes, 3 for 7 from the field, 3 for 5 from the three with 9 points. Showing some love and respect, of course, to the opponent. Wow, man, look at just the job they did on their big three. I mean, you're starting with their, MVP, their star player in DeMar DeRozan. He was 6 for 16 from the field, 16 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. You had Zach LaVine, 7 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. He was 2 for 9 from the field. And then Vucevic, 13 points, 7 rebounds. He was 5 for 13 from the field. I mean, some of their, bigger performances could be off the bench. I mean, as silly as it sounds to say this, but Tristan Thompson in 21 minutes, he had 10.6 rebounds. And then Kobe White in 26 minutes, he had 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. But when you take into, account that DeMar is a 28, 5-5 guy, and obviously LaVine, what those two guys have been doing. So when you're able to hold those two, to a combined scoring of 16 and 7, so 23 points, 36 points between their big three. I mean, Jaylen, he almost had that by himself, so it's just quickly just going over, the game script. And this is similar, to the Wizards game when it comes to game script, guys. When it's a wire-to-wire utter domination, it's to get into all the little details. There really isn't. There's not a back and forth. There's not a lot of sequences to go over. I mean, the end of the first quarter, the Celtics had a 32-19 lead. Halftime, it was a 67-51 lead. Heading into the fourth quarter, 91-67 lead. I mean, and throughout the fourth, I think the closest the Bulls would get it is to within 20 points. I think the high for the Celtics was a 27-point lead. Keep in mind that fourth quarter, no Jason Tatum, he sat. Al Horford sat. Marcus Smart sat. I mean, so it was pretty much just Theis and Jaylen Brown out there with Williams, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, guys along those lines. We're getting run in the fourth. So again, this was just a wire-to-wire dominant win. And to me, this was kind of reminiscent of like, excuse me, like the Minnesota game, the Denver game, the Utah game, the Golden State War, all those recent games where it was against, a playoff caliber team, maybe even a team that's like got some momentum, on a win streak or whatever the case may be. That's not the case of the Bulls, but just, a solid team, a playoff team, a team that's in the mix in their conference. And we just dominate them. I mean, you remember all those I mentioned, that Minnesota game, it's in the Denver game. It's like, man, those teams are hot. They're playing well, dominant, Utah, Golden State, same thing, dominant. Every one of those games we were winning or won by over 20 points. In fact, on NBC, I seen that a stat, something along the lines of in the last 11 games, 8 of them, they've had 24-point leads or more. 8 of the last 11 games, something crazy like that. So, I mean, they've just been smacking teams in the mouth on this recent run, guys. Lord have mercy. And by recent run, I'm talking about 14 out of the last 17 games they've won. Out of the past 30 games, they have a record of 25-5. You've heard me mention recently, I mean, if this isn't the tale of two halves, I mean, I don't know what is. It is night and day. In 2021, that portion of the season, October through December, obviously, they were 17-19. So when they beat the Suns, that's how they concluded the year. New Year's Eve, they beat Phoenix. That was for the 17th win. They would start 2022, like I said, 17-19. Since then, 33-11. It has just been sensational what this team has been doing, the turnarounds, the adjustments. And I mean, basically you hear people, talk about health, but it really is ever since, that team got healthy and, early, well, actually when Marcus Smart came back January 23rd, it's just been, wow. Speaking of that, 50 wins. Shout out to Bobby. I think that he actually called the 50 and they reached it there. In fact, this is the first 50-win season. They have a record right now with 2 games remaining of 50 wins, 30 losses. First time since the 2017-2018 campaign. That was Jason Tatum's rookie year. That's the last 50-win season. In fact, in the last 12 years, they've only done it. This is the 3rd time they've done it. Both of the other 2 times, it resulted in Eastern Conference Finals run. Including one where they were one good shooting night away from going to the finals. So, hey. But we got a big one on tonight, guys. Really, really big one on tonight. You're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, who right now are the 3rd seed, I believe. I mean, it's such a log jam right now, and I'm going to transition over and get the standings up on the screen. But, again, you're still talking about like essentially a 3-team race for the 2 through 4 spot. As you see right here, Miami with the 2-game lead right now over the Boston Celtics and 2.5 over, the Bucks and Sixers, who have identical records of 49 wins, 49 wins, 30 losses. So the Celtics, Bucks, and Sixers all have 30 losses. We just have one more win than them. And what a coincidence that the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks play tonight in Milwaukee. I believe, as you can see, the Bucks and Sixers only a half game behind the Celtics. I think it's safe to say that, Miami has pulled away. They've locked up that number 1 seed. I think the number 2 seed will be determined tonight because I do believe that if Boston loses against the Bucks tonight, I think it's a good chance they might consider, I don't know. I don't want to say like rest or anything like that. I think a lot more options will be on the table for how they handle Sunday's game against Memphis. Because if you look at the remaining schedule, like I said, the other 2 teams in this equation, the Bucks and Sixers, they have 3 games remaining, whereas the Celtics have 2. Tonight is Milwaukee's first game of a back-to-back. They play the Celtics tonight, and they play the Pistons tomorrow. Then they finish up their regular season Sunday against the Cavs. The 76ers, they play the Toronto Raptors tonight. And then they play a back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. They play the Pacers on Saturday and the Pistons on Sunday. So the Bucks and Sixers both play the Pistons, and the Sixers play the Raptors and Pacers in addition to the Pistons, and the Bucks play the Celtics and Cavs in addition to the Pistons, while we just play the Bucks and Memphis remaining. So we'll see how it all shakes out, guys. I mean, as you see, if you just look down the line here, it's interesting everywhere. I mean, you can see right now, Toronto has hopped into the 5th seed, and they're a game and a half ahead of the Bulls right now. So it's like you've got these two basically fighting for 5-6, unless Toronto melts down, which we'll see. I mean, they've been playing really well, 7-3 in the last 10, but they play Philly tonight. So unless they melt down, it looks like they're going to be in the 5th seed. So it means they'll be playing the 4-5. Whereas now you got the Bulls who are going to be playing against the 3 seed and the 6 seed. Meanwhile, you look down here, you've got Cleveland in the 7th seed. They're only one game ahead of the Nets and Hawks, who have identical records of 42 and 38. And then you got the Hornets right behind them in the 10th seed at 40 and 39. So you've got the play-in pretty much secured with the Cavs, Nets, Hawks, and Hornets. And obviously, whoever wins that 7-8 game, they will be playing against or whoever finishes number 2, which right now is Boston. And then whoever loses gets to play the winner of the 9-10. And then, whoever wins that will be battling most likely the Miami Heat. So very, very interesting, guys, especially, with only 2 to 3 games left for the majority of these teams. So, we'll just have to see how everything shakes out. I mean, when it comes to Rob Williams, we got an update. Supposedly he'll be back sooner than later, but they do still anticipate him to miss the opening round of the playoffs. I think best case, and I think it's kind of, trending. At first I was thinking that he was done, but it seems like it might be trending towards a ramp up, a return in the second round. And hopefully, depending on how that's going, a full go back, ready to, get it done in the ECF, because I think, again, I feel confident against whoever we play in the first round. I really do, whether it's Toronto, whether it's Milwaukee or not Milwaukee. It's going to probably be Toronto, Chicago is what it's looking like. But then again, you could be looking at a Brooklyn or any of those 4 teams in the play-in situation. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. But round 2 is when it gets interesting, because that's where it's going to most likely be either Milwaukee, Philly, Brooklyn, one of those, the big boys of the division, which, make no mistake, the Celtics are definitely included in those big boys. But we'll just see, man. We'll see how everything shakes out. It'll be great to have Rob Williams back. Hopefully, like I said, they don't rush him back. I don't want to see a Gordon Hayward situation where he returns in the ECF and stinks up the joint. But Al Horford, in the game since Rob Williams has gone down, he has been sensational. 17 and 10 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 17, 10, and 6. Oh, by the way, over that time, he has shot 11 total threes and made 7 of them. And I was just looking through his game log. He has been so consistent all year. Just like every month, it's like 9 points, 8 rebounds, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 9.8 points, 8 rebounds, 11 points, 7 rebounds. It's just such consistency. His shooting a little bit, but everything else, the defense, it's just, Al has been excellent. I think it's a really interesting question. It's something that me and my man Adam Taylor went into. Shout out to Adam. He actually mentioned that he thought Al has played himself into his contract next year. Remember, that is a partial guarantee of $14.5 million, and I believe if they make the finals, it's $27 million. I'm not sure the exact factors of how, but it could potentially be $27 million. So he believes he's played himself into that. He'll be 36, I want to say, next year. So I think that question alone, as well as what kind of contract Grant Williams is going to be getting this offseason, kind of deserve their own videos. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown have been rolling. Last month, Jason Tatum was 3-time player of the week. He was coming off of a month where he averaged 33.7 rebounds, 5 assists while shooting 45%. So far this month, he's averaging 27.6 rebounds, 6 assists. Jaylen Brown is another one who has just been on a tear. I mean, 10 straight games now where he's had 25 or more points. In fact, 5 of the 10, he had 30 or more points. I mean, You're talking about a run from March 16th against Golden State up until, yesterday, which, the 6th against Chicago. So, I mean, just an absolute just tear. Like I said, I mean, Jalen has, in fact, another just crazy statistic is if you look at out of the last 10 games, 9 of the 10, he has shot 40% or better from three. 9 out of the last 10 games, he has shot 40% or better from three. 6 out of his last 10 games, he has shot 50% or better from three. Rebounding has elevated ever since Rob went down. I mean, he has been excellent. And then the last one I want to mention before I wrap up, guys, Daniel Theis. Since Rob went down, how him and Al have looked stepping up has just made it so this team has not skipped a beat. They have been fantastic, and they deserve some roses thrown at them because, I mean, this is a guy in Theis who was out of a Houston rotation. I get them going younger, but he's ever since leaving Boston, he was just bounced around. And I think people forget the value of this man, his pick and roll, his seals, his ability. I mean, just he can stretch the floor. He can hit that corner three. And if you look at these games, Toronto 13-10. He followed that up against Miami. He had 15 points in 17 minutes. Perfect, 6 for 6 from the field. Against the Pacers, 10 points, 8 rebounds. And then, of course, last night against the Bulls, 15.6 rebounds. Man, this team, what can I say about this team that has not already been said, guys? It has been just an incredible run after a rough start to this season. We have an absolute huge pivotal game tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe the winner will be the number 2 seed. However, maybe not being number 2 couldn't be the worst thing. I mean, because number 2, you risk seeing Brooklyn. In fact, I think that is who you'll play. I believe Brooklyn's going to finish 7th. They will play the number 2 seed. And again, it's looking like right now, if you finish in the 3rd seed, you get Chicago. The 4th seed, it's looking like they're going to play Toronto. So again, I think they win against every single one of those teams. But big game tonight. We will, of course, have a pregame show. Bobby and I will be back. We'll have some special guests on. Of course, we'll do our breakdown and reactions after the fact. And then this Sunday, final regular season game. Me, Bree, I know Bobby is going to the opening game for the Braves, but he did say he's going to do everything he can to be back. I believe he'll make it. So it'll be the 3 of us. And we have a very special guest, someone who I believe is going to be he's already a very big deal in the Celtics community. And I think that in a few years, I'll be able to look back at having, that episode, having him as a guest, and it'll be like, a big deal because of how special this kid is. And, I think where he's going. So thank you all so much for your time. Jags to Riches, James Peters, on behalf of Celtics Corner. I will be back there tonight, like I said, for the pregame show against the Milwaukee Bucks. Make sure you get over to our sponsor on that channel, Prize Picks. Please get your picks in. I mean, Bobby has been on an absolute roll. You should follow him on Twitter because anything he's been doing, just emulate it because that man basically took, I think, $50 and multiplied that by 10. I'm not going to get too much into it. But again, guys, thank you so much. Have an excellent start to your day. Take care, guys.